Happy morning, children. Today we are going to discuss part 2 on the history, chapter 1, how, when, and where. Shall we have a quick recap on this which we saw in part 1? Of course, we have discussed how important are dates and which dates are important, and we have discussed about Governor Generals, who was first Governor General and last Governor General, and Viceroys, as well as about Robert Clive. Okay, today we are going to discuss the another two content, subcontent of this. The other two content which we are going to discuss in this session is about the division of history, that is periodization of history, and the next one is what is colonial. What is colonial? As this colonial word is new to you, let us see the word, the meaning of the word. Okay, and we are going to how history have been divided. What are the division made in history, how it has been periodized, that we will discuss today. Okay, the topic which we are going to discuss is how do we periodize. Before getting into this content, first let us see the meaning of periodization. Okay, periodization helps us understand the sequence in which various events occurred and their effects. Okay. In short, we can tell that periodization means an annual plan of dividing something within a period of time. Annual plan of dividing something within a period of time. Okay. And as I said, it helps us understand the sequence in which various events occurred and their effects. It also captures the significant features of a particular period and helps us to differentiate it from other periods. So the details, whichever it is, what the features are happening in the particular period, and how it is going to how it helps us to differentiate it from the other period, so that we call it as periodization. Okay, the next thing which we are going to discuss is about James Mill. James Mill was a Scottish political philosopher and economist. He divided Indian history into three, which is Hindu, Muslim, British, in his 3-volume work. That means a book which was written by him. It is a history of British India. It was written in the year 1817. Why he had written about this? As rulers, the British regarded the society, economy, and polity of India as backward looking, stagnant, and oppressive. They called the entire pre-British period in the sense it is before the British period. It was the dark year of Indian history, and claimed that enlightened period of all-round development of the Indian society began only after the arrival of British. That means he said that before British period, our Indian country was it was dark, and when it get enlightened was after the arrival of British. And in the book of A History of British India, James Mill have denounced the pre-British period and glorified the British rule in India. He divided Indian history into 3 periods, as he said, which is Hindu, Muslim, and British. That means Hindu had ruled the country, Muslims have ruled the country, and British had ruled the country. While the Hindu and Muslim periods were identified with everything that obstructed the growth of Indian society, the British period was seen as the dawn of modern civilization, characterized by egalitarian, progressive values which liberated people from the age old shackles of exploitation, corruption, and oppressive discrimination. James Mill said that the first two periods, which is Hindu and Muslim, or belong to darkness because there was religious intolerance, caste taboos, and superstitious practices dominated the social life. And he considered British period have brought up all types of developments. So with the development, he felt they can change the ancient, but they had many problems. So historians, that means Indian historians, have divided Indian history into ancient, medieval, modern. So historians have divided Indian history into ancient, medieval, and modern. As this classification method was borrowed from the West and has its own set of problems. In the West, the modern period is associated with growth and progress. That means it is the growth of all the force of modernity. Science, reason, democracy, liberty, and equality have took place. But it is not correct because during the British period, there is no liberty and equality among the people. British period we considered as modern period, as I said. So these developments took place in ancient and medieval period also. So this division is also have problem. Because of all these reasons, they refer to the modern period of Indian history as a colonial period. Now, what is colonial? Historians refer British period as colonial. Historians refer British period as colonial. As I said, historians refer British period as colonial. Why? The British treated India as colony because they took away raw materials from India. So they took all the raw materials which is available in our country and made her an importer of finished British goods. So they'll take away raw materials from our country and they'll import it as a finished British goods. So British rule can hardly be described as modern period. It was colonial. So Indian historians call this as colonial period. Now, what is the meaning of colonization? In this textbook, you will see how the British came to conquer the country and established their rule and subjugated local Nawabs and Rajas, and also how they have established control over the economy and society, and how they have collected revenue to meet all their expenses, bought the goods they wanted at low prices, produced crops they needed for export, and the changes that came about as consequences. So, the changes which British rule brought about in values and taste, customs and practices. So, when the subjugation of one country by another leads to these kind of political, economic, social and cultural changes, we refer to the process of colonization. That means it refers to a process in which one country subjugates. What does subjugates mean is action of bringing someone under control of another country. Action of bringing someone under control of another country. For example, British rule subjugate us. That means British rule subjugate our country. Okay, so it refers to a process in which one country subjugates another and thus brings political, economic, social, and cultural changes. Okay, with this, I'll conclude today's session. Let's see another content in the next session. Thank you, children.